Well, good Thursday to you. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Almost fall, but you wouldn't know it by what we're experiencing. So, on today's program, I'm going to go over a couple of different topics. One is the video I posted, and then there is this. Seems it got a few of you thinking. That was a really deep 7 minutes, you have to admit, filled with so much symbology. And that's kind of the point that I really want to get at here is that symbology. How important is it? Well, if you study, and particularly of those of you, and I know there's a number of you out there that are linguists that study language, you know how words can be so often misinterpreted, miscommunicated. And the English language in today's vernacular is appalling in how we have just absolutely emancipated the whole language. It's just the languages of the ancients were much more, I think, eloquent, much more descriptive. But that's just my take. So, symbology. Why symbology? Well, symbols can communicate large chunks of needed information in a one simple, you know, see, and in anyone who knows how to sign, again. And it's been absent in what I would call, particularly the 20th century, that that was removed. It was put to the back, which is devastating because many do not understand symbology, but it's everywhere. I find it interesting that those who get tattoos, and although I don't have any, it's because of my fear of needles. I guess that's the thing about it. I mean, I hate needles. Something about the fact that there is something puncturing my earth suit. No, don't like it. But back to the point, and many of you that have tattoos, I would think that you would spend some time about what you are putting on you as to identify what's in the inside of you. And that's what really tattoos are saying. And I've seen some that have great symbology. I mean, a lot of the symbols that I do see, I wonder if these people really have a true understanding what they're actually identifying to themselves. So, by the way, tremendous emails. Some of you have, I think, just given me much more insights. I just wrote down a couple here. The symbology of the F equals minus F Fahrenheit kind of went into what's happening here. I mean, if you don't think that there's a winter coming, like apparently no other winter we know of, um, that video would say that. Um, Another one was that when you look at from the fish to the man of enlightenment, could also be interpreted as the 7 steps of wisdom. I thought that was really interesting. Someone wrote as well that Jose, New York is on George Bush's eyebrows. I need to go back and look at that a little bit closer. The drop that came from Obama's forehead was in the insignia of NASA. It's the swoosh Um, really interesting. Someone gave some great insights into the alien that Antarctica, they live under the ice. Outstanding. Um, Someone wrote as well that the three where we have the dancer in Native North American dances is making reference to Mississippi. I think I'm right on this one. Washington, the Northwest, right? You know who I'm talking to. And the last one was the Rocky Mountains. Now, do a correlation to that, to the maps that we have seen from both DHS, FEMA, which shows the United States in the vast areas being flooded. Those three areas, by the way, are three parts that are not. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but Denver, Colorado, there is something going on here. Have been. I have been told by very good sources that this is going to become the capital of what's left of the United States. Apparently, seems like almost every major agency in the bureaucracy is moving out here. I'd actually like them to stay back east. We don't want you. Keep your butts out there. The following was a opinion, not reflected. Actually, it was reflective of the commentator. So, just a number of interesting things. There needs to be an understanding of. A lot of you, I think, as well, said that the representative of the Christ is in a meditative state, that he is not on actually the river, but he's actually going through the birth process. One said that you could actually, and in fact, when you look at it, it does look like he's going into the mouth of something. You can see the uvula there and what have you. Another one was talking about the youth, that they have been basically used up, empty-headed. They have no sense of morals, no sense of direction. The serpent, I think all of you got that the reptilians are actually running the media. Listen, it sounds far out, but what I have seen in my lifetime, what we're about to see is going to, let me tell you something, folks. If you haven't gone through the process of your core basically being shattered because of the belief systems that you were taught and grew up on, there's some stuff coming that is going to shatter that core. And it's only going to be those, in my humbled opinion, that have an understanding of more of themselves. And it's evident. Look at what we're building here in this channel, in this community. I've said this many times. We're all growing. This started out as a video documentary of documenting my journey of the enlightenment process. And consequently, and subsequently, in many cases, living out publicly how one begins to rebuild that core. And as so many of you know, that not be easy at all. It sucks. I mean, I think I'd rather take a beating, because at least I know the physical wounds, have a tendency to mend themselves much quicker. When you talk about your inner image, we're getting the show arranged, and we're going to really get more in depth on this video, because it demands that we go more in depth. And we're going to cover the comments. We're going to cover the emails that you have sent me. We're going to discuss all of these points and continue to see what the symbology is. You know, when you look at the steps necessary to obtain wisdom, and a lot of these secret societies, and I'll reference it by this, there are only a very few of these societies. Many of them aren't even known. And the ones that are have had to take steps to basically polish the image. So you really have to dig. Now, there are other organizations, there are other societies. I wouldn't classify them as so much secret as I would say private. And there are different levels. Now, there are some that are right up there at the elite status. But I contend, from what I have been able to ascertain through my knowledge at this point, that this video, I think, was very, very telling. There has always been thought that the reptilians, even if you take the Garden of Eve story and you talk about the cherubs, the sephiroms, the classes of angels, we know that the sephirim are actually reptilian. Yeah. So was that the rebellious race? Because I'm telling you, if you go back and you re-listen to the secret knowledge, it's very plain that I think they are the race that betrayed us. There is one of our own kind, though, that is involved in this. Now, as we get more into this, it's what throughout history bloodlines have been about. And when we begin to think about, listen, if our media is controlled, and the media, go back. You know, at one time, newspapers had a very high esteem, a very high reputation. Now, they've always printed a point of view, but apparently there were self-governing rules within the community of news gathering that were followed. Those rules don't exist today. That's gone. Today's media is nothing more than a rehash of a worn out point of view. And quite frankly, they have zero enlightenment. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, NBC, CBS, ABC, PBS, zero enlightenment. They would no more know enlightenment if it sat on its face, their faces, and took a dump, because they're indoctrinated. Now, I don't know what the individual souls that spew out this poison and this continued, it's brainwashing is what it is. Now they're getting so sophisticated that they're using frequencies, imagery. Now, I come from the video post-production industry. I know how the imagery works. We were doing it back in the late 70s and particularly the 80s. When digital came along, oh, that was an answer. And it's done. It happens so quick. What we don't realize is that an image can be flashed to us that we cannot see visually, at least not what we're receiving as visually, but we're seeing it and it's impacting. You know, the whole thing of the Manchurian Candidate, that's what that was all about. So again, when you begin to see who's controlling that message, and when you begin to see the migration that's gone from print, right, to television. You know, television, when it first came out, if you those of you that study communications or media, it was called the golden age of television. Isn't it odd that when there is breakthroughs in the consciousness of how we communicate, they're called the golden age, right? The golden age of enlightenment. Well, excuse me, with video, it became digital. And in fact, the company that I was actually the CEO of back in 1999 and 2000, we actually put on the first live webcast at South by Southwest. And the theme of it was convergence. We recognized back then that the convergence of communication was taking a leap forward. I mean, the advent of the internet and what subsequently has what we see today, I can tell you, I was one of those early pioneers back in the 90s. We didn't see this. Now, I attended an executive invitation meeting called Executive Mindshare back in 1999. It was held in Breckenridge. And some of the leading minds came there. It's where we were seeing this internet going. We were marveling at how we were going to revolutionize commerce. And boy, did we ever. But getting back to who's controlling this message, and then this insidious thing that I remember playing. How many of you are young enough to remember Pong? I mean, today it would be a form of hypnosis, like a mellotron. Doom, 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 right? Well, rarely does humanity ever see the downside of something that seems so great. Now, those Pong games and what later became the evolution of the arcade was quite something. I mean, in my youth, David Myers down there in Spring, Texas, we hung out a lot at the arcades. I was a great foosball player, loved it, and damn good at pinball. But when we began to see the pinball machines becoming much more sophisticated, much more with the electronics now that could be put in there, it began to migrate from what I would call much more interactive to where today those video games are primarily role-playing games. Well, that's pretty weird. And at least the ones that I continue to see, and as I have contended all along, I don't remember pinball being considered to be an aggressive outlet. Maybe it was. I mean, listen, we got a great album put out on it, Tommy. But now there were some pretty intense foosball games, I have to say. But that was typically after about 5 pitchers of beer amongst everyone playing. But getting back to the point, so today, now we're moving into what I think is going to be the tipping point of everything when you start getting into virtual reality. I mean, just my opinion, I think the holodeck is a cool idea. Wouldn't mind having one. But I'm not so sure if it's going to have the addictive qualities that we see so inherent in gamers. I mean, there's a whole industry. I mean, I come, in the payment industry, there's a whole section, a whole industry in the payment industry designed for gamers. I mean, the people that really get into this, it's like about $120 billion annual revenue. So someone's out there spending a whole lot of cash on this, but it gets back to the point of the symbology. We've lost that. Now, I marvel at a lot of you. I just give you thumbs up, high five. You're brilliant. You are brilliant. And I just feel, extremely fortunate to see that so many of you come here and we can have conversations. And I appreciate that. So, spend about 20 minutes on that. But it's true. So, we're going to get much more into that. I'm learning. Listen, what I have read already today, and I appreciate the folks sending the emails. I'm still getting out our core 100 email list, and sometimes the best of plans, but I'll get it out. Now, I want to talk about something that one of the people that emailed me this morning that lives up here in the Denver area. I want to talk about the sun. If you go back into, I Pet Goat 2, that's our sun. Something's wrong with it. Something's wrong with our sun right now. I have been gardening up here, lived up here for a pretty good while. I know that the growing season up here in Colorado, because again, it's a semi-arid place. But, we have plentiful sunshine, and prior years, now there would be years when we get, a lot of tomatoes, and other years where we wouldn't. We get years where we get great squash and cucumbers. But this year's been different. Number one, it hurts to stand in the sun. Now, my dog loves to walk, but to go out in the sun now, I literally have to put on a long sleeve shirt, wear a hat, put on the sunscreen because, hey, don't want to damage this beautiful face. No wisecracks either. Remember, when you're pointing a finger at me, guess what? You got 3 more pointing back at you. So anyway, but it hurts, doesn't it? I mean, I can put a long sleeve shirt and go out in shorts, and my calves, I can feel it on the heel, on the ankles of my feet. Is it not true where you are? Listen, I'm going to take a picture of this. I bought a shovel, flathead shovel, standard, about a 6 foot, total length on the, and it was made of heavy industrialized plastic, I guess that's what it looks like. It's not wood. And it obviously was finished in the factory, right? Had a nice sheen on it. And I left it out because we've not had any measurable precipitation here going on 7 weeks. It's been really dry. I left it because I was working out in the yard and just left it out there, the back of the house, which has a direct west to southwest point facing. I went out there this morning and looked at it. It oxidized. Now, folks, it's only been out there 3 days or so. It oxidized. Now, here's something else that I have found. Our tomatoes. Now, we have a variety of different tomatoes. The big boys apparently had a hard time of it, but we've got a lot of the heirloom cherry tomatoes that many of us like on our salads, right? Well, what we're finding with a lot of the fruit coming off of our tomato plants is that the skins, they're tough, they're hard. We have a rhubarb plant that, beautiful leaves, and it's taken a beating. UV burns. I went out this morning to check the UV index. At 8:30, it was already hitting a 6. When you start seeing UV indexes going now, They're now pointing them to 12, 13, 14. A decade ago, that would have been unheard of. So something is going on with the sun. Now, the sun is suddenly awoken. I mean, this last flare that popped off, and I am saying this, thank God that that son of a bee was just far enough around the limb that if it had hit us, we still don't know what the measurement on it. I mean, we know it was a 10x. It very well could have been a 20x flare. Now, here is the bad news. We're about a week from that same sunspot group coming back around. And it just seems now that even the small sunspots are awakening and now flaring. Let's talk about the hurricane. Now, think about this. We got Jose. You tell me, and I looked this up. Go back and you can look at the hurricanes in the last 100 years that have formed in the Atlantic and where they've gone. This one here, it's like it's drunk. You know, it got up, it was raging right behind Irma. Then it seemed to get out there, and it's almost like the thing is not sure what it's going to do. Now, it appears that it's going to exit out, and a lot are saying New York City. I don't know. All I know is that the Gulf Stream water up along that route is a little warm. So weather modification, weather wars. Have we been seeing weaponized weather? You know, Harvey, I did a video, but I did not post it. And the reason why I did not post it, because I did not want to come along. There was already so much heightened anxiety. And folks, that's negative energy. The way I look at it, you know, they hyped this whole thing up with Irma. And you get caught into it. The ratings for the Weather Channel on both of these storms was off the chart. It's apparently our nature. We're drawn into these things. We love to see calamity. Oh, we don't want to be in it, but we're voyeurs. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hate to be one of those poor bastards. Oh, man, look at all that rain. Man, that sucks. By the way, we might as well go out for a walk. It's a beautiful day. You know, it's kind of like the way it is. But to the point here, as they feed, this is why you've got to break watching news. Stop it. Hurt the ratings of all of these news channels. Maybe the executives, the reptilians, why don't we start calling them that? Could you imagine this? You're the CEO of a major entertainment news organization, and you know who the real puppet master is, and nothing you can do about it. But anyway, so think about this. They feed off of our negative energy. And folks, negative energy is nothing more than negative faith. And even when you think that you're not adding to it, but you're watching the images coming out, you're feeding it. Listen, it's an electrical universe. It's an electrical reality. I mean, if you were to define the infinite being, the best description that we could give would be pure energy, of thought, of matter, of everything, of nothingness. So we feed into it. Now we're learning. You're saying, listen, we're going to feed into something. We're going to feed into our group. We're going to get our groups And listen, I'm about to show you an article of how this is going to tie in where healing is concerned. Listen, the ether, AETHER, is without limit. It knows no end. And when we begin to realize we're already pulling from it, we are. We pull from it all the time. It's how matter is brought into the realm of existence. Again, calling those things that be not as though they are. These are fundamental truths that are ingrained in every religion. A religion is not a religion unless it has faith of its followers. If the followers have no faith, you have no religion. Now, what we've got to do is begin to realize, apply those very same principles to the esoteric and bring it into the practical realm. The patient right now needs help. The patient is humanity. And we're learning. I mean, it's complex. But we're doing this in the midst that I feel is the proverb that says, you can't build your house in the middle of a storm. Not going to do it. You folks that live down in Key West that rode Irma out, could you imagine at the peak of that, someone out there trying to say, well, what we're going to do today is that we're going to frame up the first floor. Yeah. You that went through there going, that ain't happening. And it's that practicality in life is the same way. We just got to realize it. Now, I want to spend some time on an article dealing on reality. I was watching Ben Davidson's report this morning, and he was talking about how the whole theory of dark energy, right? We've heard about this for over a decade and longer. I mean, there's been postulation as to what is dark energy, because apparently the gravity doesn't make up for the mass. There is something definitely missing. And so, astrophysicists, astronomers have been trying to fill in what is the cohesion keeping the universe, from flying off, because it's expanding, and it gets, anyway, it's a lot of bibble babble. So when we think of the physical universe, are we just merely seeing a portion of what we're able to handle as reality? Because apparently reality, none of us actually see it all. We merely live in pieces of it. I'm going to prove this to you right now. Now, I don't know where you are. I see mentally a couple sitting down, not a couple, just meaning more than one. And I have a distinct mental image right now of one person who is actually drinking coffee from a white cup, and you're sitting at a wooden, like a table, dining room table, but it's wood. But I have no way of knowing if that's real or not. Now, I am developing my psychic abilities. You should be doing it as well. We call it intuition. All my life, I've heard the idiom saying a woman's intuition. Well, we've been taught wrongly that we should never develop those. Reality is we should have been developing it 5,000-6,000 years ago, maybe 500,000-600,000 years ago. But nevertheless, I know because I have been told. Now, I can't see. I could look at a camera, a webcam, But even then, the reality is that I'm merely seeing of an image. It could be any image, right? That there is a country called Japan. Now, many of Asian descent are going to say, what the hell are you talking about? Of course, there's a place called Japan. I get it. But myself, R. Wayne Steiger, I don't know that reality. That reality is as foreign to me as the planet Klingon. Could be just the same. I've never been there. I've seen product that said it came from there, but I have no way of knowing that. And so the truth is that reality is no reality to me at all. Now, that person sitting in Japan who is probably asleep has no reality of me. I've got subscribers from Japan. And the only reality that they know of me is that they see me sitting here with my voice and the image going in the background. And that's how we exchange realities. We never, through our whole lives in this plane of existence, ever see reality. We see merely portions of what we interact with. So get this, a big circle. By the way, let me digress here since we're talking about the sun and got a little bit on to the realities, but this is something. So Voyager 1, right? As it's going out to the heliopause of our sun and heading out to interstellar space, it sends back the most remarkable pictures. Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, that our solar system is encapsulated in magnetic bubbles, and they form a sphere around the entire heliosphere of our solar system? Now, is that reality? One of our machines told us it was. Strange, isn't it? All right. So we talk about realities. What forms our realities? Well, it's what you taught. It's what you believe in. Listen, there's a lot of people who believe in a lot of things that would defy other people from ever doing it. There's world-class alpine skiers who absolutely know that they're going to go out this year and break records, looking to break the world record, let's say, in the Super G. Why? Because they're forming it here right now. They first have to believe it here. But when they begin to add it to the imagery, it becomes their reality. Jordan Spieth going out, competing for the FedEx Cup. It's how all the athletes are taught. Now, all don't retain it. Some just have a lot of natural ability. But when it comes to belief systems, I can tell you there is a reality where healing is a fact. There are natural healers. I can lay my hands on people and they get help. I'm extremely good on headaches. I can lay hands on people that are suffering greatly from them. And, I have the ability as well to, and certain other things. But there are many healers among us. It's like there's many seers. They are naturally a part of us. So let's talk about this whole concept of multiple realities that we just merely live in as part of. So I'm going to get into a article here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this is just a great article all the way around. And it's from messagetoeagle.com. This is a good article. So I'm going to give you the gist of this. So this scientist, this Dr. Joe Dispenza, now he's been studying reality with the mind. And what he has found is quite interesting indeed. And I'm going to get this here. It says, the science of changing your mind said that he, during his research into spontaneous remissions, discovered and continually sees similarities in people who have experienced so-called miraculous healings, showing that they have actually changed their mind, which then changed their health. In other words, what do you think can affect what you think can affect your health? Now, the mind is incredible. We know this. But as he got into here, what he began to realize is that cognition, that cognitive aspect of what we call reality. So you can see that he went on to say, the concept is interesting, but what happens of what we do not perceive, all of our so-called reality? Now, I just gave the example. I'm sure Japan exists. I know. I mean, but if it got right down to it, I could never actually testify to that. Now, it goes on to say that, and I'm pulling this up and I know you're reading this as well, is that they now know that the placebo effect is real. High as 60%. So if the placebo effect is in fact real, what's going on here? Is the healing taking place fake? Apparently not. Now, I'll read this, and I know you have as well. The mystery of how brain activity causes consciousness experiences has not yet been solved and never will be solved, because brain activity does not and cannot cause conscious experiences. Okay. Well, that's blowing a few circuits. If we want to have a scientific understanding of consciousness and of the many well-documented correlations between brain activity and conscious experiences, then we cannot start with brain activity or physical dynamics of any kind. We must start with a brand new but rigorous foundation. I propose a new foundation which models consciousness as interacting networks of conscious agents. Well, we could say that each one of us are conscious agents, could we not? Our perceptual system is our window on the world, but it is also a conceptual prison. It's difficult to conceive a reality outside of space and time, but maths can open up a chink in the walls of that prison. I can't imagine a multidimensional space, but I can deal with an infinite dimensional space in mathematical form. Wow. So when we begin to talk about consciousness, now science is grappling with, because it was known over 150 years ago. The earliest physicists began to understand there was something here that they couldn't identify. Now, they didn't have the machinery that we do today. They didn't have the computers, but they in themselves knew it. Now, we go on. Cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman's exploration of the extraordinary creative genius of the mind's eye has many virtues, of which sheer intellectual excitement is the foremost nature. Hoffman explains that far from being a passive recorder of a pre-existing world, the eye actively constructs every aspect of our visual experience. In an informal style replete with illustrations, Hoffman presents the compelling scientific evidence for vision's constructive powers, unveiling a grammar of vision, a set of rules that govern our perception of line, color, form, depth, and motion. Hoffman also describes the loss of these constructive powers in patients, such as an artist who can no longer see or dream in color, and a man who sees his father as an imposter. Finally, Hoffman explores the spin-offs of visual intelligence in the arts and technologies, from film special effects to virtual reality. This is, in sum, an outstanding example of creative popular science. You see, folks, we actually create our own reality. I have been saying how long our current condition of the world today is a direct result of man's own making. Now, we may have been persuaded, dissuaded, we may have been tricked, we may have been deceived, but they're using our energy. It's the uniqueness of what you and I are. We have so many abilities that we let lay dormant. And these are the very things that we need to survive, to thrive, to ascend, to rise above the poverty, to rise above cheating our brother, to rise above a lying species that we are. Because let me tell you, folks, the one thing that humanity can in fact be said is that we are a lying species. We lie every day. Why? You can't just simply ignore it and say, oh, I don't lie. You liar. Yes, you do. Don't make yourself so sanctimoniously holy. You're just like the rest of us. We're trying to figure it out. So what can create a mind that if I say I give you a pill and that it's going to cure you of whatever ailment, and I'm going to show you that this pill has worked for others. They're going to give you their spoken testimony. You take it. Are you going to feel the effects? Most likely, yes. At least 6 out of 10 will. Now, I've been in, I come out of the Christian faith. I've been in enough healing meetings, and I can tell you. Now, is a lot of it hyperbole? Yes. But that's not the point here. The point is, it's the individual who is ready to believe. And they'll tell you that all the time. Are you ready to believe for your miracle? Well, let me come here and lay hands on you in Jesus' name. Well, it was never Jesus that healed anyone. Never was any person named Jesus. Never lived. That's the first illusion that you have to get over. Now, if you can get over that one, then you can begin to see that it's not so much the individual that's invoking, right? But it's the receiving, the individual. If they believe that they can walk on coals, they can walk on them. They can not have to do the quick step. They can walk at a slow pace. Ain't going to burn them. We've seen monks all around the world do remarkable feats. Those who practice Buddhism, the yogis. I mean, that's how it works. And if we can now begin to apply these very basic principles here as well, then you're going to see very quickly how something can change. So I'll leave the link. Yeah, I'll leave the link for this article in the video as well. So let me get back over here. All right. Well, that's today's program. I got a ton of work to do. I really do. And got to get the emails out. to all the group. I'll get that done today. And I am now working on installment 2 of the Wars. And you can actually see these are the notes, page after page after page. So we're going to get this down into presentation format. And I'm going to be having Heidi Vanderberg. I'm going to be introducing you to Tamu, going to be introducing you to Teresa. I hope Miss Levette can get with us again. I saw her video. Apparently she lives on a street that they have figured out the evergreen model. You never have to worry about a job because you just keep tearing the street up. Levette, I hope that gets better. With the rest of you, thank you, all of you. I want to let you know that I say it all the time, but you're very special. Every one of you are. If we could just begin to see it, you know, we see it all of our lives, how we grow up. We see that when we first start school, how the social structures work. And we see growing up how you have cliques. And the thing about it is that it's because you have a group of consciousness that have come together and formed this. Now, that's a very, minor example. But we all know that there's power on this. And as we continue to learn, listen, my studying the Kabbalah has brought me into a closer relationship with whom we call God. However, I still say man cannot conceive nor comprehend God. It's beyond our ability. It's why we have so many religions in the world. I think they all got a piece of it. But no one religion that I have seen has it all. They don't. I know it sounds odd, but does that make me an atheist, an agnostic? No. Listen, we're here because of the Creator, the infinite being. And it's just the fact that I came all my life, I had God in this nice little box. Or you understand what I'm saying? Hey, did y'all read that? But now, I'll tell you how it makes me feel inside. I feel like I'm that 16-year-old, 17-year-old, where energy is endless. It's giving me that excitement because I don't see God anymore of being this distant idea. What I see it now is unlimited potential. And the crazy thing is, that's how it sees us. The male, feminine, it's all of it. That's where it comes from. And it could be, I don't know, whatever else you could say. But that's what it sees in us. Yeah, I don't see a vengeful God. There's consequences in life. Absolutely. You suffer them. Listen, the bill always comes due. And sometimes other people's crap just rolls over on you. And it stinks. But that is kind of what this crazy world is. They don't give us the manual at birth. They don't. They give you the sentient being and say, here, good luck. And it's a wonder many of us made it, huh? But we did, and we're here. So I appreciate every one of you. Have a good day. Be kind to one another. Be kind to the earth. We're going to continue the exploration of knowledge. If you have ideas, if you'd like to be a guest, send me an email, steigerrwayne@gmail.com. I'll get you on. This is your voice as well as my voice, and this is where we share ideas. No one has all the answers. No one's always wrong. No one's always right. We just have to come in and be willing to listen, willing to at least consider, and then make a determination. All right, till we meet again, be kind to one another. We'll talk soon.